Shea Ralph begins her fourth season as the head coach at Vanderbilt University. She has been a part of 7 NCAA national championships in women's basketball as both a player and a coach at the University of Connecticut. She's one of the most celebrated student athletes in women's basketball history. Having talked to her, she's not going to like me reading these things, but I'm going to do it anyway. She led UConn to a national championship in 2000. We can remember that. I've been around enough to remember that. She was named the NCAA Women's Final Four Most Outstanding Player in 2000. In 2000, she was an All-American, won the Honda Award, and was named the Sports Illustrated for Women Player of the Year. She was drafted in the WNBA draft in 2001 by the Utah Stars. A knee injury altered her professional career, so she began a coaching career. I was someone who met her husband, Tom Garrick, who was a part of Vanderbilt's men's staff. I met during our new coaches orientation. Tom's now an associate head coach for the women's basketball team, and their daughter Mason you can see in the crowd at Vanderbilt games on a regular basis. So welcome to the stage, Shea Ralph from Vanderbilt University.
I believe we're going to go straight to questions.
Yes, sir.
And so if you have a question, raise your hand and we'll get one of the remote mics to you. And remember to identify yourself and the media outlet you represent when you ask your question. So let's start on the second row on the right.
Elena Morris, VandySports.com. Coach, earlier this week you had your contract extended. What does that mean that Vanderbilt believes in what you're doing and that you can continue to lead this program?
It's hard to put what that means into words for me. And, you know, when we came here, my husband and I, to take over the program at Vanderbilt, we had extensive conversations with both Drs. Candace Story-Lee and Chancellor Diermeyer about our vision for the program and bringing it back to national prominence and being in the conversation for championships every year is really important to us. This wasn't a stepping stone for me. This is somewhere I want to be for a long time. So to see some of that vision come into reality now as we had a great season last year, and to hear Candace and Chancellor Diermeyer want to extend my contract, believe in my vision, see the progress is very, very, very meaningful and important to us. It helps me with recruiting. It helps my players. It helps my staff. Just really excited to be here at Vanderbilt for as long as I can be. I love it.
Other questions for Coach, please raise your hand and we'll get one of the remote mics to you. Raise your hands. All right, front row on the left.
Hi, Coach.
Hi.
AP Stedham, AP and Kelly, as we see it. Coach, I spoke to Jordan Oliver. What are some of the attributes she will bring to the team to help you win ball games?
Jordan Oliver has one of the highest IQs that I've been around in a long time. She understands the game of basketball. She's an incredible playmaker. One of the things I think, you know, when you're building a team and you're trying to create a championship culture that you need is that, number one, but it's also understanding the value of sacrifice. So Jordan's not the player that needs to shoot the ball 20 times. She doesn't need the spotlight on her. She doesn't need all the attention. She just wants to do whatever it takes for our team to win. In order to win games at a high level, at a high clip, to be a championship team, you have got to have players like that on your team. And she's one of them. Really, really happy she's here.
All right, raise your hands. Let's go back to the second row on the right.
You had Jordan Cambridge last year, and she was obviously one of the best defenders on your team, and she graduated from the program, but you brought in Leilani Cappanis, another great defender. How is she going to help fill that void of Jordan Cambridge?
I think it's always, when you lose a player like Jordan Cambridge, it's hard to fill those shoes, right? There's not going to be anyone that replicates what she was able to do for our team. But I do think the additions that we made this year are going to be powerful in their own right. So bringing in Leilani and Jane Nwaba, both incredibly athletic, strong guards, very versatile with great experience at a high level. So Jane coming from Pepperdine, Leilani was a great player at Penn State. And then we have 2 freshmen that I think are going to turn some heads as well. Michaela Blakes has been one of our best players in practice every single day, has brought a competitive fire and a will to win and a fearlessness that I haven't seen in a freshman in a long time. And Trinity Wilson, who most of you probably don't know, but I played with her mom in college. 6'4", big teddy bear, very, very skilled, high IQ. I tell the players all the time, you got to cut with your hands in front of your face. She's going to whip it, when you're open before you know you're open. So there's a lot of great diversity to our new group. Losing Jordan Cambridge is tough. But I think bringing the new 4 that we have coming in, bringing them in, having them seamlessly mold with our team is going to be great for us as we move forward this year.
Other questions, please raise your hand. Let's go to the second row on the right.
Hi, Shea. Kevin Skarbinski with the SEC blog. How much farther along are you starting this season, starting preseason practice, getting ready for the season than you've been at any point in the program?
I feel like that's a trick question. Like you think you're further along some days, and then there are days where I'm like, we are so not there yet, and part of that's that we haven't played a game yet. We haven't played a scrimmage. Our first scrimmage is this weekend. I think we'll know a lot more after that. I will say the one adjustment that I made as a coach this year, bringing in our new players, understanding the trajectory of our program, the success we had last year, we focused a ton on laying the foundation of our culture. I feel like our culture is in a pretty good place, and we were able to start practice a little sooner this year. So we've been together for longer. We're playing more 5-on-5 than we have. I love a good drill. And so the additions that we've made, the success that we've had, the movement of our program in a positive direction has allowed me to do some things sooner. I also think the experience of being a head coach has kind of pushed me into doing some things sooner so that we're not tripping over some of the mistakes we've had in the past early on in the season. I'm hopeful. Talk to me again next week after our scrimmage. I may have a different answer. But I really love coaching this team too. They're a really good group. They're competitive. They want to win. They came here to win. We're in year 4. We just came off a really successful season, our most successful season in a decade. So the energy is really good right now, and they understand, as you guys say, they understand the assignment, right? They understand the assignment. The other thing that's awesome right now on our campus is it's just a great time to be a Commodore. You're watching our football team, our women's soccer team doing historic things. Being on campus, when we beat Alabama, that hasn't ever happened. And we're a very tight-knit campus, coaches and athletes, and we all have the same vision for our programs, like a holistic development in our student athletes, where we're pouring into them as athletes, we're pouring them into them as students, as members of the community, as young human beings. So it's really awesome just to be part of that right now. For us as a women's basketball program, we get to move into a brand new practice facility in about a month and a half, which will be the biggest one in the country. So what you look at our vision, where we want to go, what we did last year, but you also have the support that I have in our AD and our chancellor. And right now, and you guys know that the landscape is changing rapidly. And we're still doing all of these things to make sure that at Vanderbilt, we're creating the best student-athlete experience in the country. That is really, really special. My staff feels it. Our players feel it. We're ready to do special things this year.
Next question on the front row on the left, and then we'll go to the fourth row on the left.
Coach, what is the NIL landscape at Vanderbilt for women's basketball?
The NIL landscape, it changes every day. I think what it's been probably depends on each university and each coach that you ask. It's going to be different. I think if anybody tells you what they know it's going to be, they're not telling you the truth. Not yet anyway, until the settlement clears and we all kind of have a little bit of an idea of what the guardrails will look like. I will say at Vanderbilt, I feel very supported by our athletic department, by my athletic director, and I think we can be competitive with anyone. So I'm really excited to be here and not have to worry about that.
Okay, fourth row on the left.
Wilson Jackson, the Knicks. Coach, you just talked about last season was the season where you got a chance to really implement your culture. Obviously 9 returners starting back. How beneficial is that in terms of, continuing to push your culture into this program?
Could you repeat the first part of the question? I'm sorry, you said last year, the trajectory. You're talking about the culture or the winning?
The culture. You had mentioned you were able to establish the culture in your program,
Yes.
and so more so, how do you see having 9 returners coming back? How do you see that, advancing the culture even more?
Obviously, it's huge to have retention. So right now, one of the things that I'm really proud of for our program, for my staff, and I'm happy for our kids, is that we're transformational. I don't know that I'm capable of being transactional coach, even though that's part of what we're dealing with right now, and that's just reality in the college athletic world that we live in. But we really do try to pour into our student athletes. And I think, it's much like parenting. You just have to be super consistent every day and hope that they start to pick up some really good habits. And for us, this is years in the making. And so one of the things that I thought was really cool for our team last year was to experience some success, to see some of the hard work, some of the things that we preach every single day in terms of their habits and their belief and their values and the way they show up actually pay off in results. There isn't anything I can do to make that happen. So that takes time, it takes effort, it takes a belief, and sometimes you're not going to get the results that you want, but it can't change who you are. And so we keep harping on that, and that has been a foundational part of our program and who we are. I think the fact that we did have some success last year has helped our players believe even more. Because if you remember now, when we got to Vanderbilt, we didn't have players here that had won before. They didn't know what a winning culture or a winning team or what it looked like to be a winner felt like or looked like. They didn't have that behavior modeled. So we really had to start from scratch and build that inside of them. And it takes time. And I constantly preach to them about that. But I thought last year was a huge stepping stone for us in that way, so that they understand that, great things, it's not like the world we live in, not like Amazon where you can go on, I want something and it's at your doorstep at 10 a.m. the next day. That's not how this works. You have to put constant work into being a great athlete, into being great at whatever it is that you choose for your profession. And when they move on to being a great family member and a great partner, all those things take time and effort. And so I do think that carryover will help our younger guys hopefully learn a little bit more. But there is a belief that sits in them now because they've had results.
Raise your hand if you have other questions. Go back to the second row, right here on the right.
You mentioned the football win over Alabama. So that synergy across campus is real. You
It is
feel
real.
it across sports?
Anchor down, y'all. It is real.
Is the
It
buzz
real.
still there in that from that game? Is there still an excitement? Obviously, they went to Kentucky and won, and so is describe that a little more. I'm fascinated by that concept.
There is this feeling on campus that change is happening, right? And I think sometimes when you equate change with college athletics, we like to talk about it in a negative way. But I think for what's going on at Vanderbilt is that it's positive. Change doesn't have to be negative. We are doing all these things, being competitive at a very high level, which, let's be honest, most people didn't think would happen, certainly not this year. And when you look at our football team, who most of us, because it's such a tight-knit campus, have relationships with the players and the coaches, and they say they have the same committed vision and process that all of us have, to see them have those results, and then to see it sustain itself over the course of the next week, where they're doing things that people said they couldn't, but no one in that locker room didn't believe that they were going to do it. No one on that staff, no one in our community. We saw the work they were putting in. That transfers. That belief, that passion, that confidence transfers into our student athletes, into our staff. It is truly really cool to witness, because it's all that anyone's talking about. And I know that our players see it, they're experiencing it, and they want it. They want that feeling in our locker room. That's not something I can fabricate as a coach. And everybody else also knows that in the SEC, it's great to have a successful football team. And in the country, in college athletics, you want to have a successful football team. Our football team understands that. Our community understands that. So we are behind them 100%. But I'm telling you, it's historic. It's never happened before. So anytime you can be part of something historic, it's pretty awesome.
All right, hands up. Other questions for Coach? Coach, I might do one last question. Several of the coaches today have been asked about their thoughts on the impact of Texas and Oklahoma coming into the league, so I might direct the same one to you.
Sure. I love having, I should say, I love competing at a high level. And it's one of the reasons that I was so drawn to Vanderbilt. It's one of the reasons I love being in the SEC conference. It's one of the reasons I love recruiting players that want to be great and having players on my team that want to be great. Because if you want to be great, then you have to go up against the best. then you got to put your hat in the ring. And now as we add these traditionally excellent programs to our conference, we're going to have the ability to do that day in and day out. I think it can only help you. It can only help you get better. Now it's going to be tough, but that's what we all signed up for. And I'm excited because I think they're two great programs. I respect them both a lot. It'll be fun to compete against them.
All right, last call for questions for Coach. Anyone? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.